computer. And I want to welcome everybody to Any Sunday Songwriters, which has been making me very happy for the last year and plus, whatever it is. And I'd like to introduce my guests this week, but one of them just disappeared. Okay,
He's back.
yes. This is Steve Brooks from right here in Austin. And he is a brilliant singer, songwriter, and has multiple albums out. And he'll have a chance to describe anything he wants to, including his website and everything else. He's a 5-time winner of the O. Henry Pun-Off, which, for those who are not in Austin, it's a yearly event. And Steve got to go on I've Got a Secret, and that was his secret. And they didn't guess, and he won $1,000, which I think is just amazing. Congratulations, Steve. And my other guest is Helene Cronin, and I believe you're in Nashville, Helene?
I am in Nashville, right? Yes, I'm south
Yes.
of town right now in a beautiful farm out here.
Ah, wonderful. And I
Happy
met
to.
Helene at SWRFA, the Southwest Regional Folk Alliance, in our showcase room. And she was wonderful, and I've been very anxious to have her on here and finally succeeded. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So, Helene, would you like to kick us off?
Sure, I would love to. I'll do a song that name checks a good old Texas town. It's funny, I actually am a Texas artist. I'm in Nashville because I come up here every month, but my home is Plano, Texas. So I'm going to do a song called Riding the Gray Line that's off my newest album. It's 13 hours to Waco. There's a seat beside the window. I buckle up and settle back. Watch the faces in the glass. I'm already forgetting words because I'm nervous. I know, okay. Sorry about that. Just across the center road is a family fresh from Mexico. The mother sings a Spanish song. I wonder, is this where any of us belong? The driver's eyes are flashing in the rear view like a watchman on the wall. I bet those eyes have seen it all. The washed out vagrants catching sleep, the honeymooners traveling cheap, the runaway someone's trying to find. Old ghosts floating in between the future and what used to be, the hopeless and the hopeful side by side. Riding the gray line. The air is stale through dusty vents, smells like sweat and hobo breath. These nameless towns are deaf and blind to this triple axle humming by. The tires sigh, another stop. A couple drifters stumble off, and we all watch the open door to see who joins our lonesome tour. We're all here for different reasons, but we're keeping our cards close. We're all together on our own. The washed out vagrants catching sleep, the honeymooners traveling cheap, the runaway someone's trying to find. Old ghosts floating in between the future and what used to be, the hopeless and the hopeful side by side, riding the gray line, riding the gray line. And I might make it all the way to Waco and get him off my mind. If I could leave his memory with the ghosts that haunt this isle, riding the gray line, riding the gray line. Thank y'all. Thank you. Sorry for that mess up. I just had a blank.
Could you check and make sure your original sound is on?
It says turn off original sound.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to say. It's your guitar was dropping out a little bit, so I thought that might be the issue.
Maybe I'll scoot a little closer or something.
Okay. And Steve, what have you got for us?
Well, that song that Helene played made me think of this song about folks who travel to Texas from a different direction. Well, some of those folks are in the Helene song too. I wrote this song a couple of years ago with our mutual friend Sue Young. Sue and I got together and we wanted to try writing a song that had a fair amount of Spanish in it because she sings so beautifully in Spanish, and I'm trying to learn to speak it as well as she does. And so this is the story that came out. It's called En mis sueños, In My Dreams. The only other piece of unfamiliar Spanish that might go by is La Migra, which refers to ICE, the immigration police. Arturo crossed. My turn to forget. Arturo left Reynosa for a land he called El Norte. He swam the Rio Grande before the break of day, with a pocket full of dreams and La Virgen Guadalupe, and a tia up in Houston with a room behind her Mexican cafe. Maria waited tables from lunchtime to la noche. She spied the new muchacho loading dishes on a tray. 3 semanas later, as they danced to a bolero, they pulled a little closer. As he whispered in her ear, she heard him say, En mis sueños, I see you, mi querida. En mis sueños, we are sharing la vida. In my dreams, no power on this earth can come between us. You and me, we'll always be together. En mis sueños. Arturo y Maria found a promised land in Tejas, full of hard work and milagros, a casita of their own. 3 hijos and 10 years of scraped knees and bedtime stories, till Arturo told Maria, after turning out the lights, to be alone. En mis sueños, I see you, mi querida. and mis sueños, we are sharing la vida in my dreams. No power on this earth can come between us, you and me. We'll always be together in mis sueños. Arturo kissed Maria, drove off to the mercado, be back en un momento, but he never did come home. A neighbor brought the word he was taken by La Migra. Now a river runs between them. She hears him like a ghost upon the phone. En mis sueños te veo, mi querida. En mis sueños compartimos la vida. In my dreams, no power on this earth can come between us, you and me. We'll always be together in mis sueños. Someday I'll cross this border that's between us, you and me. Until then, we'll be together en mis sueños. En mis sueños. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Hi, Helene. You disappeared for a minute.
I lost my internet connection. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Back on? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Well,
I had
don't.
to connect to a different...
Do you have an Ethernet connection?
I don't know what I'm on now. I think it's an iPhone connection. I don't have an Ethernet here.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't have one in this room either.
Can you
so
hear?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll just keep rocking along. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So this is not a sad song about riding the bus, and it's not about the border. It's about how I ended up in Texas, which was not the most likely thing. In fact, it didn't seem likely at all to me. When I left New York, I thought I was going to San Francisco. And but there was this left turn. I'm still not sure exactly what happened. So this is a song about that and how I ended up here. Something about this is not right. Let's see if there. When I left New York City, I thought walls and lights were pretty, and wide open space, but that was Central Park. When I pulled into Austin, I thought soon I would be leaving, but a little bit of Texas got stuck here in my heart. I don't know if I can pull this off because I just realized what the problem is. That's where the capo goes. So anyway, that's better.
Get a mold in here.
What? When I left New York City, I thought walls and lights were pretty. Wide open space, well, that was Central Park. And when I pulled into Austin, thought soon I would be leaving. A little bit of Texas got stuck here in my heart. sky so big it scared me, but the people were so friendly. I kept putting off the date when I would depart for that west horizon, never realized the longer that I waited, the more leaving would be hard. When I finally hit the road on Highway 10, I said, so long, Austin, I won't be back again. But I missed Texas every day and every night. I missed Texas, even things I didn't like. I missed Texas and it was tearing me apart, 'cause a little bit of Texas was stuck here in my heart. There I was in LA and thinking I had it made. But every now and then my dreams would fall apart, and all the shoulders I could cry on were in some distant time zone. So I would cry all by myself for the breaking of my heart. Aw. Now I smile and shake my head and say, how silly can you get? What could I have been thinking to be wandering that far? And the man who walks beside me, I came back so he could find me. We're both firmly wed to the heart of the Lone Star. When I finally hit the road on Highway 10, I said, make room, Austin, 'cause I'm coming home again. 'Cause I missed Texas every day and every night. I missed Texas, even things I still don't like. I missed Texas and it was tearing me apart, 'cause a little bit of Texas was stuck here in my heart. Yes, I missed Texas and I will never more depart, 'cause a little bit of Texas right out of the middle, it's stuck here in my heart. Yeehaw.
Yay.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's awesome, Jan. Hey, where in New York are you from?
Manhattan,
from?
West 68th Street.
I'm a Long Island girl.
Ah,
So,
I miss
when
it,
did
but
you
I
move
don't
to
miss
Texas?
71. I don't
Yeah.
miss the weather at all.
No, me either. I think it took me about 10 years to actually call myself a Texan. But my family moved us when we were kids, but I don't often meet people in Texas from New York, so that's cool.
I was a little weirded out by it too, and it took a while for me even to use y'all. You know, when I started using y'all was in California.
Yeah. I use y'all. I never ever say fixin' to, and I never say might could. There's some things that I just can't quite get over. Steve, I'm sorry I missed your song. I lost my internet, but I will look forward to hanging in there for the next one. It's Jan. Thank you for having us today. For having me. I want to just mention I'm going to do a couple songs off of my latest EP, which is Old Ghosts and Lost Causes, and this is the song that kicked off the record. I figured it was a good way to introduce myself to people. I was the first to hurt it, cut it open, lay it bare, burning rubber down to metal, as if I had a spare. I was wild and stupid, let other people use it, cover it with little cracks and scars. I don't know what made me so careless with a secrets, like a crime I had to hide. I didn't want to feel it, ashamed that it was mine. Heard it whisper, but I wouldn't listen. I left it to the shadows and the dark. It was almost lost to me. How dare I be careless with a heart? Lacy veined life with fire and blood, beating strong through all the damage done, and always only made to love. Now for all the pain I've caused it, all the trouble that I've been, we're something like two strangers turning into friends. I've come to need it so I don't mistreat it. And if you ever lay yours in my arms, it's safe with me. I'll never be careless with a heart. Careless with a heart. Careless with a heart. Thank you.
Wow. 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 It is amazing. Wow. Wow. I thought as that amazing. Amazing. Wow.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Well, Helene did a song off of her new one. I'll play a song that will be off my new one when my new one finally comes out. The recording process has been delayed a year by a certain pandemic. But, now that I am twice vaccinated, in another week I'll be free to do things like get back into a studio. I'm quite excited about that. But when I wrote this song about 3 years ago, I didn't realize it was also a song about sheltering in place. But it describes how music has helped me through this past year. When my world is closing in, got a place to get out of the wind, where it's easy to be in harmony, and I know just where I can stand, 'cause I made it with my own hands. When everything else is wrong, I go climbing inside the song, and it feels like I've never been gone. No more am I living alone, 'cause the song is my home. Song is my home. Every word I've got to fit so my heart has a place to sit. There's colors to see in the melody and the pictures upon the shelves, with the stories they have to tell. When everything else is wrong, I go climbing inside the song, and it feels like I've never been gone. No more am I living alone, 'cause the song is my home. The song is my home. Now if you can excuse my mess, come on in, you can be my guest. 'Cause there's plenty of empty room to be getting yourself in tune. Doesn't matter to me how you find your key, 'cause my work isn't really through till the song is a home for you. When everything else is wrong, I go climbing inside the song, and it feels like I've never been gone. No more am I living alone, 'cause the song is my home. The song is my home. The song is my home. Song is my home.
Yeah, that was great. I have said many times that no matter how bad the situation, if you get a good song out of it, how bad could it be, right?
That's absolutely right. That's why I love playing that song when there are other songwriters around.
Yeah, because we all recognize the situation. So one of the things I've been filling up my time with during the lockdown, or whatever that was, and still is, and I've got both my shots in 2 weeks, and I think I mentioned we went to the symphony for the first time last night. Got dressed up, wore shoes and perfume even. Yeah, I know. And it was wonderful. They've been practicing for a year, and so it was great. Every note was in place as near as I could tell. So, I've been doing a whole lot of song challenges, including Song Tribe, which is once a week, and you turn it in by midnight in LA. And if not, you spend 3 weeks not being able to turn in anything. So, they call it going to jail. And every time I see a new prompt, I think to myself, oh, I'm going to jail this time. So last week, the prompt was busted. And I thought for sure I was. But I changed it just a little bit, otherwise known as cheating, and I got this. I keep a bust of Beethoven before me on the piano. I keep a bust of Beethoven to remind me that even in calamity, tomorrow still holds possibility. So I keep a bust of Beethoven where I can see. I keep a bust of Beethoven where I can see. I keep a bust of Bach before me on the piano. I keep a bust of Bach to remind me that though the task is difficult, it still can yield a fine result. So I keep a bust of Bach so I'll remember. I keep a bust of Bob where I can see. And Chopin did not go home, and Mozart died in poverty. So many of them died so very young, and still they all left us so much beauty. So I keep a bust of Brahms before me on the piano. I keep a bust of Brahms to remind me that though your heart is breaking, your art can be your saving grace. So I keep a bust of Brahms where I can see. I keep a bust of Brahms where I can see. I keep a bust of Beethoven. I keep a bust of Bach. I keep a bust of Brahms before me on the piano. Thank you. I actually keep them in the other room, but same deal.
You got your bees covered.
I got,
Yes.
yes, I did. There was something I wanted to mention, and I have no idea what it was, so I guess I'll mention it next time.
You can go ahead.
I
Oh,
don't
but
know-
you can't remember?
No.
Okay. Well, when you remember, let me know. Was sound better on that second song, or am I still cutting in and out?
Oh, the sound was gorgeous on the second song, and I did just remember. It's everybody open up your chat. There's a whole nother world going on there, and I want to
Yes.
say hello to all our guests. We have people from all over the world, both in the U.S., here in Austin and in Florida, and we have people from Israel and people from England, and I'm very pleased and excited that you all decided to come and spend your afternoon or evening with us. Thank you so much. That was it.
Good. Well, thank you for that. And again, thank you, Jan, for having me this afternoon. And Steve, Steve, where are you from? Where's he from? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, Steve is from Austin.
He's
Yeah,
from
I'm
Austin.
right,
Okay.
I'm from the other side of the river from Jan.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So we are all Texans today. Anyway, I'm going to do a song from, I did a couple of EPs in 2014 and 2015 when I was trying to get my feet wet back again, finding my voice in the studio. And I was writing with a friend of mine named Bob Paterno, and Bob was from Dallas. And he said to me one day, I have a title that I'm saving for you. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, it's First Stone. We began to talk about what that song could be about. And the origins of it, of course, are biblical, with Jesus saying, whoever's without sin cast the first stone. But it's hard to write a song about the first stone and not be preachy. So we decided that the only person we wanted to hear from, the only person we wanted preaching at us, was the stone itself. I can win you a battle, I can lose you the war. I'm the promise of justice with a cold granite core. I'm the courage of cowards, I'm the salt in the wound. And I hurt the most when I'm cloaked in the truth. I'm a word, I'm a fist, an unfaithful kiss. I'm a bruiser of trust, a breaker of bones. I'm the push, I'm a shove, a poison to love. Oh, the damage I can do once I've been thrown. I'm the first stone. I'm easy to stoop to, I'm hard to ignore. You ought to know better, 'cause you've met me before. I'm a brief guilty pleasure, I'm a lasting regret. Can't take it back a moment, and I ain't done with you yet. I'm a word, I'm a fist, an unfaithful kiss. I'm a bruiser of trust, a breaker of bones. I'm a push, I'm a shove, a poison to love. Oh, the damage I can do once I've been thrown. I'm the first stone. You make your point, I'll hit the mark, leave a scar, strike the heart, then lie there at the bottom of the rubble. A word, a fist, an unfaithful kiss. I'm a bruiser of trust, a breaker of bones. I'm the push, I'm the shove, the poison to love. I'm best left alone. I'm the first stone. I'm the first stone. Just the first stone.
Hey.
Wow.
Thank y'all.
Goodness.
Thank you. I wrote that with my friend Bob Paterno.
That was a worthwhile endeavor.
Thank you. Yeah, we get good feedback on that song from people.
Well, that made me think of another song I'm recording right now that is first person account of a geological feature. It's a story. It's the autobiography of a glacier. I wrote the song a few years ago with a fiddler friend from Switzerland named Mala Gassman. Mala gets over here to Austin every few years, and when we got our heads together to try to write a song, we discovered that one of the things we had in common was love of the high alpine mountains, and that grew into writing a first-person account of the world through the eyes of a glacier. Of course, if you know what's going on to glaciers these days, you can guess that this song is not going to have much of a happy ending. The song is called A Glacier's Tears. You should have seen me when I could grind a mountain down, arms around his shoulder then. I was young, I was strong, hear the groan of frozen bones, roaring of my tongue to snow, spitting blocks of ice and stone at the river below. Come morning, another sun will rise, painting me as his rosy bride, melting my heart with every breath, kissing me with his kiss of death. Is anyone here? Can anyone hear a glacier's tear? 10,000 years go by, kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall. In the blinking of my eye, I've seen it all. And planets' memories lie here sleeping deep within. Fertile flowers and towering trees and dust in the wind. One morning another sun will rise, painting me as his rosy bride, melting my heart with every breath, kissing me with his kiss of death. Is anyone here? Can anyone hear a glacier's tears? My time it won't be long, bodies failing by degrees. Now mountain, won't you hear my song and remember me? My fingerprints upon your face, up and down your silver streams, polished cliffs and emerald lakes and valleys of green. One morning another sun will rise, only to miss his rosy bride. His kisses have finally set me free for my reunion with the sea. Is anyone here? Can anyone hear when I disappear? Will anyone hear a glacier's tears? A glacier's tears.
How beautiful, Steve.
Thank you.
The thing is, we're doing this to ourselves. That's the saddest part, you know?
The rest of the planet.
Yeah. So this is normally streamed on Facebook and on YouTube, but it's not today because the vehicle by which I do that is not working today. So it is only on Facebook, and I'm sorry to anyone who's looked for us on YouTube. It'll be up there later after the show is over. I'll put the video from it. That's being recorded. The song I'm about to do, we are right between Yom HaShoah, which is the remembrance of the Holocaust, and Yom HaAtzmaut, which is the commemoration of Israel's independence. And this song was written by Alan Buxtell and Nick Annis, and I rarely do songs by other people. I do them. But this one, as soon as I heard it, Mara Levine did it at a show last week, and as soon as I heard it, I knew I had to play that song. So I'm going to play it for all of you. I'm not a communist. Oh, let me tell you what it's about. There's a I'm sorry, I left out a part. The Reverend Nieberg was, Nieberg? I may not have that name right. was arrested.
Roland Niebuhr.
Yes, thank you. Was arrested and sent to a concentration camp while the Nazis were in power. And when he came out, he was a native German and a Christian, and people asked him how he ended up in concentration camp, and this was his response. I'm not a communist, so when they came for the communists, I held my tongue. Like a good neighbor, I minded my own business, trusted that justice was done. I never asked what was their crime. It was their sorrow, it was not mine. I never cared where they were sent. By my silence, I gave my consent. By my silence, I gave my consent. I am not Jewish, and so when they came for the Jews, I had nothing to say. Branded with stars and then herded in boxcars and then taken away. I never asked what was their crime, 'cause it was their sorrow, it was not mine. I never cared where they were sent. By my silence, I gave my consent. By my silence, I gave my consent. I never cared when they came for the Unionists, came for the Socialists, took the powerless. I'm not a terrorist, I'm not an immigrant, I'm native born, blissfully ignorant. I didn't ask what was their crime, till their sorrow turned into mine, till their sorrow turned into mine. I was okay. I am a citizen, and I was free. I didn't care. Now there's nobody there, no one left to speak out for me. At the time, I believed it never would happen to me. I didn't see what it meant for my silence to be my consent, for my silence to be my consent. By my silence, I gave my consent. By my silence, I give my consent. Thank you.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. It's a very powerful song.
Who wrote that?
Ellen Buxtell and Nick Annis. And you can find them performing it live on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a famous quote. I love what they did with it, and
Yeah, me too.
your singing of it was great. Well, it's hard to know how to I was going to follow that with a love song, but I think I still will, because there's nothing that we need as much as we need love. I was writing with my friend Nicole Lewis, and I was telling her stories about my husband and ways that he treats me and things that he says to me that just make me aware of how lucky I am to have him. I spend a lot of time away from him because I do travel to Nashville a lot, and so in fact this trip is a 10-day stretch, and he gives me the wings to fly and go do what I love to do, and I'm very grateful for that. So this is a song I'm going to do for him. He tells me I'm pretty when I don't feel pretty, when I don't see what he sees. He says in a crowd when we're out at a party, he's proud to be next to me. Then he takes me back home and he lies down beside me and loves me like only he can. Lets me know I'm safe in his hands. Ain't that just like a man? He's cowboy honest, stubborn as a promise. He's a 5 o'clock shadow. His leather and flannel makes me glad I'm the woman I am. Ain't that just like a man? He don't always know what to say when I'm crying, but he lets me cry on his chest. Most of the time can't fix my worries or problems, but he ain't afraid of my mess. He shoulders my burdens, comforts my hurt, even when he don't understand. Carries the weight when I can't. Ain't that just like a man? He's cowboy honest, stubborn as a promise. He's a 5 o'clock shadow. His leather and flannel makes me glad I'm the woman I am. Ooh, ain't that just like a man? To make me glad I'm the woman I am. Ain't that just like a man? Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so
That's a
much.
love song.
Wow. Wow.
Huh?
Now that's a love song.
That is a lot. Yes. Yes. I'm a lucky lady. Thank you.
Well, that gives me permission to follow up with a love song. And this, I was wanting to play this one today because it's brand new. I think this will be my first time playing it live on the internet, which means first time playing it live anywhere. But it's inspired by my sweetie, who has made sheltering in place just a whole lot more enjoyable for this past year. And when I got the hook line for this song, it brought me back to a melody that I've had sitting around for almost 20 years in my song bag and never quite had the right words for. And it just fit this idea like a glove. So here it goes. It's called You Are My Happy Place. I've been wandering about, trying to figure it out. It's a mystery. How I'm far from my home and I'm sitting alone, but you're with me. And suddenly I realize a cloud in the sky. You're making the case for the smile on my face, 'cause you are my happy place. Girl, you are my happy place. When the mountain's too steep, oh, the river's too deep, you're my lifeline. When I'm stuck in the snow and I hear the wind blow, you're my sunshine. When I'm in the pit of despair, you're lifting me into the air. I'm walking in space when I'm in your embrace, 'cause you are my happy place. Girl, you are my happy place. When I fall, I know you will be right there behind me. And when I'm lost, I know you will find a way to find me. You take me away every hour of the day, every minute. You're shining your light and the world is bright 'cause you're in it. Wherever I'm hoping to go, we'll get there together. I know a rainbow waits at the end of the chase, where you are my happy place. Girl, you are my happy place. Girl, you are my happy place. Thank you.
There. Sometimes I forget that it's my turn. Just having a good time listening.
You.
It is a lot of fun. Jan, how often do you do this show?
Every other week and sometimes a little bit more than that.
Great. What a
Depends.
wonderful thing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's been much more successful than I had any reason to expect. So
Good.
that, and my thanks goes to everybody who made that happen. So the only thing that this one has in common with yours, Steve, is that it's also new. It was another one of those song prompts that I decided, here was the prompt. Write a verse that has 16 words. Yeah, I mean, what do you do with that? So I was going to just kind of, okay, this was a 5 in 5 song challenge, and I was, hey, I'm happy with 4 new songs, But then somebody posted a picture of conch shells, and either they had been painted or they came naturally with lots of color. And I was looking at the spirals and thinking about that for a while, and this is what ended up happening. And it's not accompanied because everything I tried to do to it just didn't make it better. So it is the way it was born in its birthday suit. Fibonacci and fractals are nature's way of saying, despite the way it looks, it's all still good. There's patterns and order in the universe, even when it is not clear to you. You've just misunderstood. The sun rises, the moon rises, the tide rises, they all recede. It's in the flowers and in the stars and galaxies. And so do we all rise and fall one after the other, the universe unfolds exactly as it should. Thank you.
A noble effort.
Thank you.
A little bit of a desiderata in there.
Yes, which is on the wall in our bedroom, so yeah. It has had some influence over my attitude and over what comes out of my songwriting. I'm sorry?
I don't even know what desiderato means.
Desiderata. Wasn't that an old poem? Like
Yes.
in the 70s or 80s or something?
It was popular in the 70s or 80s, and it was supposedly written in the 1400s or something like that. And go softly amongst the, and that's as far as I can get right now.
I don't even
Well,
remember
the key
it.
line is, "You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stones. You have a right to be here."
Yes. I live by that.
So was that your turn, that short song? So my turn. Well, Jan, I remember when my family, when we did live in New York, my family had a boat, and I think it was a cabin cruiser, and I think my dad bought it second or third or fourth hand, I don't know what, but I remember it being dry docked and him scraping it down and then repainting it and getting it seaworthy. And I have a lot of memories from childhood on that boat, and our family was on it a lot. He taught us to fish. We would go out and dig for clams and take it out to the bay and set crab pots by the dock. And I mean, it was just our lives centered around that boat. But my favorite thing was when he would take me out in it, just him and me. And as we went out and we'd leave the dock and we'd leave the sheltered area and we'd head out toward the bay, and he would point out landmarks and he would point out buoys and islands and things to help me remember and know where we were. And that's the way he was, whether we were in a car or a boat. He was always being sure that his kids knew how to find their way home. This is a song for him. My father used to take me fishing, set off early in the morning with him, a bucket of minnows and a couple of poles. He'd say, "See that beach, remember that island, that water tower, that line of pines. We don't need a map to get to that fishing hole. And those are the signs that'll guide us home." When you get away from what you know, feel a little lost and a lot alone. If the water's deep, the waves are getting high, when all you want to do is turn around, retrace your steps to solid ground. You can find your way back from wherever you are by looking for the landmarks. Well, he was full of that kind of wisdom. Should have spent more time listening before I set my sails, untied the ropes. I went so far out, lost sight of shore. Winds came up, blew me off course, ended up somewhere I never meant to go. When you get away from what you know, feel a little lost and a lot alone. If the water's deep, the waves are getting high, then all you want to do is turn around, retrace your steps to solid ground. You can find your way back from wherever you are by looking for the landmarks. Oh, looking for the landmarks. like that welcome home front porch light, Bible verse that comes to mind, a call from Mama asking, where have you been? Memories that make you turn around, retrace your steps to solid ground. You can find your way back from wherever you are by looking for the landmarks. By looking for the landmarks.
Oh my.
Thank you. That one's brand new. I'm hoping to put that on. Thank you all very much. I'm hoping to put that on my new album that I'm going to be tracking in June.
Well, that song is sort of about tracking, actually, so it'll fit.
That was awesome. I just got to say that was awesome. That was incredible. Thank you.
Well, the song I'm going to follow that with is a double segue, I think, because it has some imagery about being out on the seas, but it also has a line that I borrowed from a poet. Actually, I should just be honest and say I stole it, because good writers borrow and great writers steal. That's definitely one of my philosophies. And the line that I stole from a good source, my favorite poet, William Butler Yeats. The original line is, "But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you." Line from a poem called "When You Are Old and Gray and Filled with Sleep." But I took the line in a whole different direction when I realized that it filled in the missing places in the song that I had started writing. The song is called "Another Pilgrim Soul." And somebody out there has got their audio on and needs to mute themselves. Thank you. Not every question has an answer. Not every answer stays the same. Not every game has got a winner. Not every winner plays the game. All that I really know for certain is there is more behind the curtain. And for that something I go on searching, as if it was a pot of gold. I'm just another pilgrim soul. Not every knight in shining armor is gonna find a holy grail. Not every ship will reach a harbor, however far the ship may sail. All that I really know for certain is that this earth will keep on turning. And I was born with an endless yearning to watch the horizon roll that calls to another pilgrim soul. Not every road goes on forever. No, forever ever lasts. There is a road we walk together between our future and our past, where all that we really know for certain is that this day was made for learning somehow to bear one another's burdens, to be filling each other's bowls and to love one another's pilgrim souls, love one another's pilgrim souls. Thank you, fellow pilgrim souls.
That was lovely. Well, I'm going to do one from my previous project. There's a new one sort of in the works as far as compiling stuff, but this is it. It comes in book form and it comes in CD form. It's called Unsung, and it's all the stories from the Bible that you never got to hear because the person in question never got to tell their story. So because I have kind of an inflated sense of responsibility, I decided my job was going to be to tell those stories. And I thought at first that they were going to be all about women. That didn't turn out to be true. But for a long time, it was looking like they were all Old Testament because I'm Jewish, that's what I know. That turned out not to be true either. And the reason why was because of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was announced that there was a gospel from Mary Magdalene, which of course was not written by Mary Magdalene. It was written 300 years later. But in it, the rest of the disciples asked her what she had learned since she was the closest to Jesus. And she tried to tell them what he'd told her. And they got very angry and refused to believe anything she said. And that's so right up my alley. So this is a song about her. It's called And So I Followed. Never walked the streets, and I'm glad of that. Never washed his feet, but I wish I had. I was a woman who believed, so I followed. Stayed by his side, learned all I could. He was my guide, and it was good. Then he was crucified, but I still followed. You know who I am. My name is Mary. I was part of his plan. I was part of his story. I loved the man. I loved his truth. I loved his spirit. And so I followed. Here's what he said: love is the way. He loves us yet, though some would say he was conquered by death. But I still follow, and you know who I am. My name is Mary. I was part of his plan. I was part of his story. I loved the man. I loved his truth. I loved his spirit. And so I followed. They asked asked me to tell what I'd learned, but wouldn't believe what I had to say. Their envy simmered and burned. Once he was gone, they cast me away. But I still felt his grace. My name is Mary. I was part of the plan. I was part of the story. I loved the man. I loved his truth. I loved his spirit. That's why I follow. I love the man. I love his truth. I love his spirit. And so I follow.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks.
That was great.
Thank you. Oh, I have a
Thank you,
question for
Christina.
you. Where are you going to be next, and where can people find you online?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. They can find me HeleneCronin.com. It's HeleneCronin.com. I try to keep my gigs and tours and events page up to date. I'm playing a couple times in Nashville next week, and then let me look at my calendar here. I'll be in Dallas playing with my friend Scott Sean White, who's having a CD release party on May 14th. And I'm going to play a song that Scott and I wrote together, and it's on his new album. And it's also on this is my newest album. Somebody's already messaged me about First Stone, and you can find that on my album, Belong to the River. But this is my newest, it's falling apart here. Anyway, this is my newest one. And then I'm getting ready to go in the studio and do another one in June, and I'm just so excited about the new songs. But I play around Texas some, and I play in Nashville a bit. And COVID, it wiped everybody out in terms of our tour and gig schedule. But it really was a blessing in that it gave me a chance to write a whole catalog of new songs last year. So as much as I don't like the virus and what it's done to our sense of community and our ability to connect with each other, I think all of us have found new ways to try to connect. And I appreciate you, Jan, inviting me to be on this and make some new friends.
Goal, and it was my pleasure. How about you, Steve? Where are you going to be next, and what have you? Where can people find you online?
Well, people can find me online at stevebrooks.net. Should be pretty easy to remember. The .net is the important part. I'm not sure who occupies the .com currently, but it used to be a web designer from California. I will actually, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing my first live performance, since COVID, and it's going to be with my other project, my band, the Limelighters, out at the Quiet Valley Ranch, where they do the Kerrville Folk Festival.
And when is that?
Well, my gig with the Limelighters is going to be Saturday the 24th, but it's kind of for existing season ticket holders, so I can't really advertise it too much. But the Kerrville Folk Festival itself, where the Limelighters are going to be playing as well, is going to be from October 1st to October 10th. Yay. That was recently announced, and by that time they figure it should be possible to do it live and be able to hug one another, and healing and the wisdom will have even more meaning than it has before.
Wonderful. Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you for asking. I also realize I'm going to be in Fredericksburg, I think on possibly May 1st. I might be joining my friend Bernie Nelson at Lone Star Grill. So that's I have a girls' weekend coming up down there with some friends, and I think I'm going to jump on with him for a few minutes. So a lot of you that are in the Hill Country area, if you like Fredericksburg, that's what did I say? May 1st. So I'd like to do this song that I wrote with my friend Scott Sean White. He's one of my most frequent collaborators. And I had this title, Humankind, because I saw it hashtagged on a Facebook post, and somebody had posted a heartwarming story with something, and they hashtagged Humankind. And I started thinking about the word and how I would use it if I wanted to put it into a song. And I took that idea to him. And we wrote this song. A lot of it is based on a lot of true stuff. My daughter was a hospice caregiver for about 7 years. And so some of her stories, this is not her story, but some of her experiences fueled the input that helped us come up with this. And then some of Scott's own story fueled our second verse. So a lot of truth, a lot of fiction, but also the heart of it is truth. He's an old man, a hard man, can't hold on to nothing, not his razor, not his temper, not his tongue. She's a young nurse, a sweet girl, comes in every morning, makes his bed, shaves his face, cleans him up. She's been there 3 years now, ain't seen one of his kids ever come around. So she drives in on her Sundays off to play a game of gin and take him for a walk. For a little while he forgets to be mad. He remembers how to tell a joke and make a pretty girl laugh. The hurt goes away and the lonely fades with just a smile and the gift of a little time. Nothing eases human pain like humankind. She's the new kid in a new town for the 3rd time. 2 years in high school can be cruel when you're different. And he can tell when she walks in, she's a trust nobody who could use a friend. He takes the seat beside her no one wants to take. And in the lunchroom, well, that's a pretty big thing. And for a little while she forgets to be scared. She remembers for a minute what it's like to fit in somewhere. The hurt goes away and the lonely fades with just a smile and the gift of a little time. Nothing eases human pain like humankind. And it don't take much to help someone, to save someone. 'Cause for a little while we forget to give up. We remember what it's like when someone walks this road with us. The hurt goes away and the lonely fades with just a smile and the gift of a little time. Oh, nothing eases human pain like humankind. Humankind.
How lovely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I feel like playing my COVID song. And when I wrote this song last summer, not just a few months after we all started sheltering, um, I thought it might be a fun song for the Limelighters to do, except that the Limelighters were kind of sheltering in separate places. One Andy is 10 minutes south of me in South Austin, but Daniel is over in Albuquerque. But we thought it'd be fun to try making a video of this song, socially distanced, of course. So we each videotaped our parts and synced them together. And last I checked, we'd gotten more than 20,000 views on it on Facebook and YouTube. It's called 6 Feet Apart. There was a time shaking hands was a welcoming sign, but now a hug could be passing a nasty bug we must embrace. The concept of staying in place, not playing it safe, could be such a blunder. And I'd rather be 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. I'd rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. Take my advice. Friends, don't let friends go risking their lives. Don't get too close. I'd hate to give you a lethal dose. Just smile and wave. Yeah, wave, Jim. And think of the people we'll save from early graves and eternal slumber. I'd rather be 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. I'd rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. From a distance, we all can reach out and touch someone. Here's the difference. Let's do it smart, not do it dumb, dumb, dumb. Let's learn the art of being together while being apart. Meet face to face. Only do it in cyberspace. It's strange, it's true, but it beats going to the ICU. It's easy to do. You got my number, and I'd rather be 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. I'd rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. I'd rather be 6 feet apart. Step away from the shopping cart. Rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. Words to live by.
Not to die by.
Yes. I saw that video when y'all first put it out. It's really cute.
Thank you.
So I'm going to do one more from the Unsung album. This is, I've decided that I was doing the same ones over and over again and I should go for other ones. So this is another other one. I was in Janet's living room in Renana and got my pronunciation corrected by one of the members of the audience, which was interesting because she was absolutely right. The way that I pronounce it and the way that one pronounces it in Israel are different, but I'm here, so you'll know who this is. Have you guessed it yet? O King of miracles, you brought me Abraham. He thought me beautiful and wise, and I believed in the fire in his eyes. O King of miracles, you taught me wonder when you finally gave me my son. When I believed all hope was gone. You know my heart, so you know I doubted your ways. In the shadow of Moriah, now hear my praise. 'Cause faith came so easily when I was young, and I'd never known sorrow or pain. But when most of my truth turned to ash on my tongue, then how sweet was the truth that remained. O King of miracles, you brought back my Isaac, whom you could so easily have taken. But instead you sent your angels and saved him. You know my heart, so you know I doubted your ways. In the shadow of Moriah, now hear my praise. 'Cause faith came so easily when I was young, and I'd never known sorrow or pain. But when most of my truth turned to ash on my tongue, then how sweet was the truth, precious and sweet was the truth, blessed and sweet was the truth that remained. Thank you.
So how do they say his name in Israel?
Janet, I've forgotten. You don't know either? I think what she told me was Maria or Moria, maybe. I don't remember. But when I looked it up on Google, they pronounced it the same way I did, and I figured,
And
I'm
you're
here in the
singing
U.S.
it in English, not in Hebrew. So what's,
Well, there you go. But there was another.
You were pronouncing it in Texan.
That's right. There was another song that had Shechem in it, and I was calling it Shechem, which meant that I had to turn the way the line went around a bit, but better to have that one accurate because it was pretty important to the song.
because you want the name of the town and not a body part.
Yes.
And you don't want to get Yahweh up.
Shechem is the city. Shechem is a shoulder.
Yeah. And they didn't go to
Sorry,
Shechem.
not a shoulder, a shoulder blade.
Okay.
Jumping around.
So they didn't go to Shechem. They didn't go to Shechem to do away with her lover.
Thank you. Away with her
Accent
lover.
on the last syllable.
Yeah. Shechem.
Sounds like a radio frequency. FM, AM, Shechem. Is that sacrilegious? I hope I didn't just say something sacrilegious.
I don't think you can here.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to do a song I have not done in a long time for anybody, but it's a song that helped me win Kerrville Folk Festival. I was a new folk winner in 2018. And after I did this song, thank you, Jan, a bunch of people came up and said, "Are you the key lady?" They'd see me walking around Kerrville and call me the key lady, which I kind of liked. So I lost both my mom and my brother in 2015. My older brother was a well-known artist in Dallas, and he had a large 3,000 square foot studio. And I remember going through his studio and trying to wind down, trying to make sense of all his art and his life, and opening drawers, and we would find rings and rings of keys, and nobody knew what all these keys went to. And then the same thing happened with my mom. You'd open a drawer in the kitchen and there would be, loose and rusty keys, and, we didn't know what most of them went to. So then two girls, Mary Haller and Nicole Lewis, came to write with me one day, and they said, we have this idea about writing about keys. And I was like, I'm your girl. So this is what we call it. It's called Homeless Keys. I shouldn't have told you the name. I should have just let you hear it. This one used to hang from my diary by a ribbon, kept all my secrets hidden from Mama's prying eyes. Here's the one from Grandma's jewelry box, one from Daddy's workshop, the one under the back porch flower pot that we all knew where to find. They might be sitting in a junk pile, lying at the bottom of a dresser drawer. Some so old and rusty, I can't remember now what they were for. But some can take me back in time and unlock my memories. So I just can't toss them out, all of these homeless keys. This one used to start my first taste of freedom. Didn't need a reason, just a couple friends and an open road. Here's the spare from his apartment, my old college flake. I never went back to give it back, 'cause I never could explain. They might be sitting in a junk pile, lying at the bottom of a dresser drawer. Oh, some so old and rusty, I can't remember now what they were for. But some can take me back in time and unlock my memories. So I just can't toss them out, all of these homeless keys. Homeless keys. Each one has a story to tell, but no one needs them now. So they're sitting in a junk pile, lying at the bottom of a dresser drawer. Some so old and rusty, I can't remember now what they were for. But some can take me back in time and unlock my memories. So I just can't toss them out, all of these homeless keys. Homeless keys. Thank you all, and thank you, Kerrville Folk Festival.
For the next song I'm going to play, I don't have any particular segue. It's just one that I knew I wanted to play this afternoon because it's another brand new one. And this is a tribute to my dear four-footed companion Molly, who passed away a little over a month ago after 12 years together. see how well I can get through it. It's still kind of a work in progress. I recall the day I found you, a brown-eyed ball of fuzz, abandoned by somebody who had given up on love. I was never trained at raising up a baby or a beast, and I knew I would be learning more than I could ever teach. You made a mark on a part of my soul. You filled my heart and a doll-shaped hole. We went climbing every mountain. You lead me all the way. I turned into a boy again, remembering how to play. My heart grew 2 times bigger than it ever had before, making room for me and you, and maybe even more. You made a mark on a part of my soul. You filled my heart and a doll-shaped hole. Now time has a beginning, so it has to have an end. You and I, we made the most of the years we had to spend. I never could be ready, but you knew when it was time. I'll be looking for your footprints every mountain that I climb. It's time to part with a part of my soul. You leave my heart with a dog-shaped hole, but you're with me still in the stories told, and love that fills this dog-shaped hole.
That was beautiful, Steve.
I do believe you made it through it.
Yes,
Either.
that was just lovely. I am of the opinion that Molly can hear you when you sing it. So
Just like you, Molly. You knew that.
I am going to play you something for a holiday that has passed that I didn't even know existed before I wanted to write this song, because it was from a prompt, and the prompt was, see if you can put all 7 colors of the rainbow in a song. And I had nothing, so I went to Google for some ideas and found out that that very day, that day that I was looking, was this holiday. So I got red, brick red, and scarlet, jaspberry, and plenty of oranges, like sunset and sienna, lemon yellows in there too. Hold on. Where are you? There it is. Like sunset and sienna, lemon yellows in there too. Sunglow and canary, olive, sea green, and shamrock. And I got blue, cerulean to denim, navy and Pacific, robin's egg and cornflower. I got eggplant to plum, royal purple to fuchsia, indigo and cobalt. I'm in their power. I got the box of 120, sharpener on the side right where I need it. Got the box, gonna need lots of paper. National Crayon Day. Tell the truth, did you know that existed? It's March 31st. It was Wednesday a couple weeks ago. Gonna make a banner and hang it in my window, all the colors of the rainbow and a couple names you never thought of. I want everyone to know, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, that I am in love with the box of 120, sharpener on the side right where I need it. The box, give me lots of paper. It's National Crayon Day. Did you know that crayons have collectors? Did you know that crayons have a history? If there's not a crayon museum, there should be. For the box of 120, sharpener on the side right where you'd need it. Got the box, give me lots of paper. It's National Crayon Day. I got the box, I'm gonna need lots of paper, 'cause it's National Crayon Day. There. Thank
That
you.
was awesome. National Crayon Day.
Yes,
They-
March 31st every year.
And
Wow.
They even come with two that aren't colors.
That aren't colors?
Yeah, black and white.
What?
That's the truth. Okay, we are now on our last round, but it's okay if we run over because no other band is waiting for the stage. So just
Okay.
pick the one you want to do.
All right. I think somebody requested this song from me, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other song that I played at Kerrville Folk Festival and the year that I got picked to be a new folk winner, which was an amazing experience. So I'm not gonna give you a long introduction. This is just called The Last Cowboy. Cowboy, build me a shelter in Colorado when the aspens shake the mountains down for gold. Wrap your warmest blanket around my shoulders, like the rocky foothills where the smell of smoke. With constellations, our only companions, I'll give in to you like fall gives in to winter's white abandon. 'Cause you are the last cowboy, all that's left of a stubborn breed. Yeah, you are the last cowboy, the last cowboy I'll ever need. Darling, build us shelter. Sorry, darling, build us campfire. Telling stories where the coyote call is a lost and lonesome song. Sweep me off my feet with all the wildness of
of a west wind through narrow canyon walls. Oh, I'd follow you anywhere, deserts and high plains. I'd lie down beside you in ghost towns with no names. 'Cause you are the last cowboy, all that's left of a stubborn breed. Yeah, you are the last cowboy, the last cowboy I'll ever need. So take off your hat, boots, and your guns. I want every inch of you to feel my love. 'Cause you are the last cowboy, the very best of a stubborn breed. Yeah, you are the last cowboy, the last cowboy I'll ever need. The last cowboy.
Thank y'all. Every Texas girl should have a cowboy song, right?
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
And now for something completely different. Actually, it's not different at all. This is a cowboy love song. But it's also a song that has a bit to do with this t-shirt that I've been wearing all through the afternoon here, advertising the O. Henry Pun-Off World Championship, which I have to correct Jan. I've actually been the champion 6 times over back in the 90s. I MC the contest now every year in the backyard of the O. Henry Museum in downtown Austin. And the song was partly inspired by those experiences, but it is a cowboy song about a cowboy who comes out of the wilds of West Texas and hitches up his pony somewhere on South Lamar Boulevard in downtown Austin and walks next door and promptly falls in love with a yoga instructor. This song is called Yoga Lady, and it's also a funny example of how sometimes life can imitate art, because a dozen years after I wrote this song, I have found myself together with my sweetie Debbie, who teaches yoga. We both call her Yoga Lady. A cowboy came a-riding across the endless Texas plains, hit the town of Austin, where folks get kinda strange. He took a little mosey, then he got a little nosy, and he thought he would explore the yoga school next door. He saw a yoga lady, she was slippery as soap, did tricks with her own body he could not do with a rope. She was perfectly proportioned as she went through her contortions. He dipped a little coat, and this is what he spoke. Yoga lady, yoga lady, yoga lady. Now would you please enlighten me exactly why it is you take your shapely body and give it such a twist? I've rode with lots of doggies, but not with any yogis. And tell me if you can, using words I understand. You're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady. She said, my thoughts are just like cattle or a bunch of tumbleweeds. I'm trying to corral them while they're trying to stampede. But a little bit of bending brings me bliss that's never ending. I keep those critters tame with an ohm upon the range. You're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady. He said, sweet yoga lady, now I think I understand. The sound of one hand clapping is the sound of one cow hand. He dropped his old 6-shooter, he picked up her Kama Sutra, and soon he found Nirvana with his Mahayana mama. You're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady. So the lady and the cowboy, they bought themselves a ranch. He's got her rope and cattle while she's got him doing chants. He does his kundalini while she eats her beans and weenies. And they're finding inner peace in the wild, wild east. Hi, the yoga lady, hi, the yoga lady, hi, the yoga lady, hi, the yoga lady. Yoga lady, 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 oh, Padme Hum.
Don Waltzer would be impressed.
That's
Well,
about as
Wow.
that's about as off color as the Crayon song.
That was great.
So
So, Jan,
this
you
is,
take us home.
yes, this is my parting shot. My goodness. You know, I had the same experience. I had the song called Easy Lovin' on my first album that I wrote while I was still in LA. And in the middle of it, it was basically, Mr. Engineer, please come here and clean up this mess. And then I met Andy. He was the one who recorded and produced that album. And we've
The
been
rest is
married.
history.
Yeah, we've been married 29 years now.
Hi, Andy.
He's here. Yes. He's shy.
Got the shutter closed.
29 years is something to celebrate, Jan. That's
Oh,
awesome.
I totally agree. My longest relationship before I met Andy was 3.5 years.
Wow. Well, you beat that times a few.
A few times, yes. So this is about something that is currently an issue here in Austin, and I suspect in other places too. My friend Elise Black has a real estate company, she and her husband, and one of the things that she told me not long ago was that there were 225 available single-family houses in Austin, and because of our influx of population, the demand is something like 1,000 a week. So as you can imagine, developers are kind of desperate for land to develop. And the goal here was to find a news story, and I found this on the Statesman Online, and it was the guy talking about an aspect of this issue. And I started taking notes on the video, and I realized about halfway into it that he was basically writing my song for me. So here it is. My daddy really loved this land. I'd feel I was betraying him if I were the one to let it go. wonder if I got that right. He used to say if you had pliers and a roll of baling wire, well, you could fix most anything that broke. Family history's big for me. Great-great-granddad, born in slavery when he was freed. He came to Texas, bought this land with saved up gold. His descendants each have owned it. I don't propose to be the one to lose it. So it's not for sale. The land is not for sale. The city needs more houses. Yes, I understand. But Papa Connor's land is not for sale. Leaving it to my granddaughter. I want to do that for her, 'cause she lost her dad when she was only 5. I do believe he is watching and happy with these things I'm doing, like he'd do if he were alive. So it's not for sale. The land is not for sale. The city needs more houses. That I understand. But Papa Connor's land is not for sale. She can be anything she wants to be. Write her own future. She will keep the land and story going for those who come after. So it's not for sale. The land is not for sale. The city needs more houses. Yes, I understand. But Papa Connor's land is not for sale. The city needs more houses. Yes, I understand. But Papa Connor's land is not for sale. My daddy really loved this land. I'd feel I was betraying him if I were the one to let it go. And that takes, thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our show. I hope that everybody will be okay with uncloaking to say goodbye. We've spent the afternoon with Helene Cronin, who is a spectacular songwriter and has won the New Folk at Kerrville. And also with Steve Brooks, who is an all-around wordsmith of every description. Yes, and can yodel too. I did not know that.
You can yoga.
Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you next. Next time. On April 25th is Carrie Cooper and Charlie Mossbrook, who I'm fairly excited about having, and I hope you are too. Please come and join us at 3 Central, right here. I'll put out the word.
Yep, Steve.
Thank you,
yodels
Jan.
like a mogul.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure
It
to
was a
have you
joy to
both.
be with y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, if you need something out of the chat, if you hit those 3 dots at the bottom, you can save the chat to your very own computer. And we did record all this, so if you would like a copy of the recording, just email me and I will be happy to send you one.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Happy Sunday, everybody.
You too.
Hey, Steve, how are you doing?
See you, Andy. And actually see you now.
Yeah, I like the wall behind you. That's great. Is, is, can you pull back a little bit? Can I see it in a little bit greater context?
Well, it's not easy to
Oh,
pick
okay.
up my laptop and move it, but it's
Never
a nice
mind.
piece of fabric.
Oh, it's
Oh,
just
it's fabric?
Yes.
Wow.
that's
It's
pretty.
wonderful. Good for you.
I'm glad the illusion works. Many folks have asked me that same question. How did I get a wall behind me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is good to know. See, this is how easily the eye is fooled.
Hmm.
Well, it's good to hear you. It's good to hear you, Helene.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for hosting this and letting me be part of it. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All
I always
Been
right.
a
say the
joy to
eyes
have
have
you.
it.
Take care. And
You
maybe I'll
too.
see you if they ever do Swerfa again. I'll look for it.
That would be
Look forward to
wonderful.
it. Yes.
Next year at
Here's
Swerfa.
hoping. Yes.
Yes.
All right, Jan. Take care.
Okay, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye bye.
Oh,
And Debbie was just in the frame waving at both of you, Jan and Andy.
Oh,
Hi, Debbie.
I enjoyed it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good to see you.
The studio is set up in her spare room.
Aw, that's so nice. That works.
And now she's leaning against the wall and causing it to wave.
The faux wall.
Didn't know her own strength.
Like something out of the Matrix.
Really.
That's great. Yeah, I love it.
Yes, I read Jen's post, and that I was excited for you and a little jealous.
Oh, about the going to the symphony?
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
that
it was a real treat. It was just a nice gift from Peter Bay.
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah, we were there at his invitation and it was wonderful. It just going anywhere would have been wonderful, but going there and listening to the way they played last night, they were terrific. They were terrific.
was it their first concert in person?
This was the
Yeah.
second one. The first one they did little ensembles, and it was that one of the ushers said it was more like a street fair than a symphony performance. But this one was a full on. It wasn't the whole orchestra, but it was a full on symphony performance, and it was great.
Well, it was the repertoire was for small orchestra, so it was like Riff on Williams and uh,
Defia, Haydn.
Faya and Haydn. So it was a pretty good sized orchestra, but and they did it at the AISD Performing Arts
Well,
Center,
that's a nice place.
which is it's just the right size for a small orchestra.
Nice.
And the the uh, the COVID protocols and stuff were it was really very thorough the way they did it. You had to you basically did a questionnaire online before you came. That all the standard stuff. You haven't been sick, blah blah blah. And then they took your temperature, and people wore masks. And there were I don't know. I'm guessing there were maybe 200 people max there.
Yeah,
So everybody
and
was
everybody
very
was
spread out.
yeah. So it can't have been for the money. It was just for the joy of playing live.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was it was really great to get to actually go be in the room with people, you know, music
live
being made
instruments.
together in a space with people
We
all
like that.
together. It was really great.
And to hear live instruments.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
and just it's just a vibe. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it was just it was cool. It was just like sort of pinched myself at one point and just kind of go, wow, I can't believe that this is such a big deal, right? For this to be such a big deal, but of course you don't miss something, and nothing like not having something for a long time to help you miss it. So
Now I have
Yeah.
my glasses on. I can actually see all in focus.
Oh, hey.
yeah, it's so good to see you both. It's good to hear you. I really, as always, Steve, enjoyed your songs. I really like the Glacier song.
I did too.
That was an epic undertaking.
Funny thing is, a few months after I wrote that song, that was the summer that I went to Alaska, and I saw a lot of glaciers that summer. And Alaska, and then on the side of Mount Rainier in Washington, and then I went spent a few days at Glacier National Park. So I
Yeah.
did the grand tour of the receding glaciers.
Well, it's really it's sickening. I remember, I guess about 3.5 years ago now, I was flying back from Germany, and I don't know, probably 10 years earlier, I'd been flying back from the British Isles and flying over Greenland. I knew I was flying over Greenland, and you could see, 10 years prior, it was just all white. It was, like it was obvious. Well, there's just a bunch of glaciers and snow down there. And this last time coming back from Germany, we're flying over this area. There's like all these mountains and this land and stuff. And I'm going, where are we? I mean, I know we're past Iceland. And so I looked on the little map that they provide, on the airplane that shows where you are in the flight. And it was Greenland. And I'm looking at this place that I'd looked at, 10 or 11 years before. And it's completely different. I mean, it's like so much was gone. It just really struck me. It was just a blow of just straight consciousness and awareness of, whoa, this is bad. This is really bad. So I just hope that more people get to go be confronted with it in a visceral way, so they just really understand this is real, folks. We got to change what we're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, this winter Greenland came to us.
Yeah, that's true. With a vengeance, which is good. It's sad that things have to happen like that, but it's usually what it takes to wake people up, and just kind of get a dose of reality. So
I would be thrilled if that was no longer the case, that you don't have to be hit over the head to understand there's a problem and you need to be part of solving it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some raised consciousness somehow. I mean, even if it takes some pain, hopefully we'll learn from the pain.
Well, Mother Nature's just going to go on hitting us over the head.
Oh, absolutely.
Been doing it on a regular basis for the past few decades.
Yep.
Yeah, just hopefully we can get the message. It's like without getting a concussion.
Well, and in enough time to actually do something about what Mother Nature's been hitting us with.
Yeah, and the time is clearly now. The time is
the time is past.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, the lever. The levers. We don't have a good lever point anymore. We're beyond that. Well, that is so cool to find out that wall that I was so really intrigued by is a faux wall. That it's a very good representation.
Yes.
Because I was just thinking, oh, well, that really, that's why this sounds so good. That room sounds really good because of that wall, and that was just bullshit.
Good to hear from an engineer that my room sounds good.
It is. Well, and I just put a bigger rug in here, and I don't know, I was hoping that would make the sound a little better.
Oh yeah, no, it sounded fine.
Ambience.
Well, it's really good to see you and to hear you.
Just for y'all's reference, this is so. I got this tapestry off of Amazon. There are all kinds of them that you can find. Some
right, I've seen them advertised.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that was one.
And then I have this portable frame that I can adjust the size, and I'm hanging it from that, and I've got clamps, on 3 sides of the frame that are holding the tapestry.
Sure. So it's you can't see the wrinkles and such.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good job. It fooled me.
Excellent.
I'm in the middle of cooking, so I've got to go. But
we gotta go.
I gotta go too. So
really
I'm gonna
great to
end the
see
meeting.
And have a little visit.
Yeah.
All right.
Au revoir.
Actually, Jan, I think I'm going to see you tonight.
That's you.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I saw you were on the list.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, you two.
Au revoir.